A Time Called You is a South Korean television series streaming on Netflix. On this podcast, we like to discuss a recent installment of a different series every show. Today, that's the pilot episode, which runs just over 40 minutes and tackles themes of romance, grief, and time travel. It's September 23rd. Welcome to today's episode. The last Korean show that we reviewed, I believe, just released its finale to its first season 2 days or 3 days ago, Moving on Hulu.
Right.
Yes. And this isn't a throwaway comparison. Both shows, both A Time Called You and Moving, are based on series that have been told in different mediums. One was a webcomic, and what is A Time Called You?
So you know that it's a Taiwanese TV show. It was based on a Taiwanese
I didn't know
TV
what
show.
it was based on. I just knew it was based on
Oh,
something.
okay, yeah. So it was a show that came out in 2019 and then I think aired till 2020 called Someday or One Day.
Okay.
And I actually watched the pilot to it because I wanted to see how closely, I didn't see A Time Called You, but I saw the pilot for Someday or One Day just to see how closely we can compare the two of them.
Great, that'll be perfect. But first I want to get through my comparisons of Moving. The other thing is that both stories are presented in a non-linear, non-chronological fashion.
Yep.
Okay, and the third one is that both have elements of romance, coming-of-age high school characters, and, of course, sci-fi. The difference is, where Moving is fast-paced and an action-packed superhero show, A Time Called You's premiere was leisurely, I would call, unhurried. It's kind of like a stroll through the life of this woman whose name is Jeon Hee. Now, I'm going to massacre most of these names because I do not know Korean very well.
I have a list of films and TV shows before you get into your summary, and maybe you can tell me how closely they are related to that.
Okay.
Okay, so The Time Traveler's Wife.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of related.
About Time?
No.
No. Okay, interesting. Midnight in Paris.
Midnight in Paris, romance, time travel, I can see the comparison. Owen Wilson, nothing like this main character. In fact, I would almost also compare it to a Lifetime movie.
A Lifetime
Like
movie.
a Hallmark Lifetime movie.
It does have like the same lighting that's what I always think
No,
about.
not about the lighting, not about the production at all. More about just the story. There's so many scenes that are dedicated to the couple falling or already in love and just showing them in love.
100% like the pilot Someday or One Day. I think that those are probably, that's the biggest similarity between the two of them because that's all that the pilot for the Taiwanese show focuses on.
And Korean dramas are kind of known for this thing. They're sort of soap opera-ish. That's where Moving had its own separate thing. I think we gave Moving really high.
I give it an 8, I think.
You gave it an 8. I gave it like a 9, I think. The present timeline for A Time Called You is 2023. Mm-hmm. Han Joon-hee is an adult woman living in South Korea. She has a good job, nice colleagues, a nice apartment, but everything that she does reminds her of her missing/deceased boyfriend, Yoon Jun.
By the end of this episode, do you know if he is missing or deceased? Like, do they ever confirm anything?
Okay, so you've seen the Taiwanese show, and I assume that gave away a lot of, maybe even went further than what the first episode of A Time Called You. How many episodes were in the Taiwanese show?
13.
And there's 12 in
And
this?
there's 12 here. Not only that, Someday or One Day, the Taiwanese show, is, I think, like, every episode is over an hour. At least 75 minutes to 90 minutes. And I think the only 75-minute episode is the finale for this.
All right, so then I'll spare you all the revelations. We learn that Yoon Jun has transported somehow into the past or is living in the past, but also maybe living still in the current day. So he disappeared on an airplane that crashed, right, a year ago. And since then, Han Joon-hee has been just grieving his death / she's not completely sure that he's missing.
It's only been 1 year because in the TV series,
in the other
one,
TV
it's
series,
2 years.
It's 2 years, yes. All right. So Yoon Jun, when we're questioning his death, we hear that it's a plane accident, that there was a mechanical defect, and that 183 people were aboard, and it took off from Incheon International Airport that was going to New York City. Why was it going to New York City? Why was he on the flight? Well, apparently, Joon-hee, she went to go live in New York for a while, do her job there to get money so that she could move back and marry her boyfriend, but her boyfriend wasn't having that. He loved her so much, he had to go see her on that flight.
Very much
Very
the same, yes.
Okay, so that's kind of half the episode, is just her relationship, her past memories, everything she does reminds her of him.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
So how many times do you get like her thinking about something and then suddenly intercutting to them? I don't know, eating cake or
it's
walking
constant.
at a
I
park?
have them written here, but not until I want to get into the 1998 storyline. So the past storyline is where the thing turns all topsy-turvy. And it doesn't go in order, like I was saying at the beginning. The 1998 storyline is interspliced throughout the whole episode. And there's this very shy girl who looks very similar to our main character, Joon-hee, but she's in high school and she's named Kwon Min-ju. And she's working at a CD store when these two dudes from her class walk in, Jung In-gyu and Nam Si-hyun. And Nam Si-hyun looks exactly like Yoon-jun, the missing boyfriend from the plane accident.
They're dual roles.
Yes, of course they are.
Obviously, yeah.
But Si-hyun is there not as a guy who's trying to get with the girl that he likes in the future, or that, he's trying to be there as a wingman to hook his friend up with the person who looks like Joon-hee, again, Kwon Min-ju. And Kwon Min-ju is just super shy. She doesn't like making eye contact. I don't know if that's a Korean thing, but I feel like I've seen it in a lot of Korean shows.
It was even that way in the Taiwanese version.
That's just her version of she doesn't even want to talk to these dudes because not she doesn't like them, but again, shyness. But the wingman's, he is the best wingman you could ask for. I haven't seen a commitment since Marty McFly trying to get his parents together, or Jeff from 13 Seasons Why. 13 Reasons Why. Yeah. Since then, that a wingman has been this adamant or good at what he's doing.
What does he even do?
Because his friend happens to also be super duper shy and doesn't want to talk to her. And so Si-hyun gets them into the CD store. He starts making conversation with Kwon Min-ju, and then he tries to get her to give, or his friend to give her his number. The number of the friend, so that she would contact him when she has the CD available. But his friend is so shy that he doesn't even accept the number, and it has to go back to Si-hyun. Later on, tell me if you remember this from Moving, they're about to, she misses her bus to high school.
Right.
And they ride up on these Vespa Segway things, and they're like, hey, jump on. But Si-hyun's the one who's offering that, and then he's like, actually, you go on my best friend's one, and then he goes off and meets them at the high school.
Okay, this is not what the show was like. Like the CD thing that you're talking about, the CD store was such a huge part of the pilot because they kept on flashing back to that scene.
They flash back to it one more time because once him and his friend leave, he comes back in there and he asks her name, and that's how I find out that she's not Joon-hee, but she's Kwon Min-ju.
And that's how they end the first episode of the series.
How they ended it, but then there was a post-credit sequence, which I have to give them a pro for because I found it extremely entertaining that Netflix went through the entire credits. This wasn't a mid-credit. It literally went like 4 extra minutes, and I would have missed it. But for the fact that the credits were just so long, there was something suspicious about that. And I stuck around until the end.
There was no play next episode button, I assume.
I wasn't even paying attention for that. But at the very end there was this thing where she has another memory from the past, but that was one of the most effective ones. Most of the memories that she gets from the past are just them having dinner together and then kissing.
Yes.
This one was actually had a little bit of a funny thing to it because she gets in her car, it's not starting in the future, the present, and then she thinks back of when her boyfriend had the car, and the reason he had such an old mobile as opposed to a push start was because it had a cassette player and he was really into it. And so that was the most sentimental that it got and was actually effective, I felt like. But getting back to how in the 1998 storyline, Si-hyun plays a wingman, there's also a scene where they're all in class together for science. And I also really like the science class because they actually went into chemistry and they started talking about oxidation and reduction and stuff that you would never see on an American TV show because usually the teacher barely says anything about education.
Usually it's just focused on the students.
It's just focused on the students. So they ask for lab partners and she's alone, and then Si-hyun brings up his friend and they all become lab partners together. So that's all fun and nice, and that's what's going on. But the question is, do any of them from the past realize that they're from in the past, or what's going on? It's kind of, you're led to believe that Yoon-jun may know that he is from the future or something. I don't know.
I was
the
confused
mystery
too.
portion is so intriguing, but it's also balanced backward. I don't like it when they do the romance stuff.
Well, it was just hard to tell because when at least in the Taiwanese version, whenever you see the main character, the male main character, the one that died in the plane crash,
Yoon-jun here, yeah,
you see him also in the present storyline. She gets quick flashes of him walking down the street or
But those are all from the past, from the last year.
No, you see, you think
think
she's seen it in her mind.
And you don't think that those were like little flashes of the past that she's comparing to? Because that's what it was here.
It was hard for me to tell. Okay. Like I was hoping that this show is going to at least try and answer some of those things, and it doesn't really seem like it did. It was
helpful because she has short hair in the present storyline and long hair in the past. So whenever she was imagining herself in the past, you would see her with long hair, and you could kind of tell the time distance. Now, when they jump back to the 1998 storyline, that goes out the window because their whole style is like high school. And I couldn't even tell 100% if they were the same actors or actresses because they are supposed to be playing much younger, and suddenly they do in their high school uniforms look a little bit younger. So I do question what their ages are like in real life.
Well, you know who the main star is of this show, the one that plays Joon Hee and Min-ju. That's the main star of Glitch. The show that we did back in I think October of 2022, where she sees
always
aliens.
Seen something. Yeah, but the mystery is definitely the thing that keeps you invested in this show. It's been a year. The passengers on the plane have been confirmed dead. It's kind of like the Oceanic Six in Lost, where they could be on an island somewhere, but everybody's just like, we're going to throw the funerals and everything. But Joon-hee she has a sense that he's still alive, right? And she gets these flowers delivered to her at work, and then she runs after the person who must have delivered them because she has the feeling that it might be Yoon-jun for some reason, that he would just appear then. And she gets this quick flash of this guy with like a scar and a cane, and it's just as the elevators are closing, so she's not able to see the full thing. But I'm thinking maybe Yoon-jun got transported to the past and then aged up to like 40 something in the future. Like maybe that is him, but he's just way older and he's lived from the 90s onward. But then that theory kind of goes it goes away because we get another instance where she's getting all of Yoon-jun's old supplies, right?
Yeah.
And one of his supplies was this painting that he made of a girl who looks like Kwon Ming-ju or Joon-hee in the past, right?
Yes.
And she doesn't recognize that girl, even though it looks a lot like her. And she's like, I never wore my hair that way. I don't know who this is. It must be your first love. And so he must have been aware even before his plane ride about that other version of himself.
Right.
So maybe he's been approached by the future version of himself before. I don't know, but it raises a lot of questions.
Well, so I guess just staying on the topic of the two of them, what are the clear differences between the two? Like for Joon-hee or Yoon-jun and all of them? Like, what are the...
Yoon-jun, as I said, in the future is just an invested boyfriend who wanted to marry her before and wanted to go to New York with her, but that she said no to.
Right.
And then she's been trying to find the engagement ring that he supposedly hid into a box that he made her for the entire episode.
That was supposed to be a reveal in the pilot that I saw for the original version. That he was supposed to marry her.
Yeah, it was presented as one because his mom was at the funeral that they were throwing for him and kind of like, you never wear your engagement ring. And she's like, what engagement ring? And then she figures it out. But in the past, again, he's become a wingman to someone who's getting with Kwon Min-ju, which you wouldn't think that would be the case.
Are there any specific traits?
Again, with the characters, Kwon Min-ju is just so shy compared to her alter ego in Joon-hee and the older version of her, who's very confident, but also just sad. Yeah, she's just sad.
The main actress who played Joon-hee said that she wanted her two characters to be completely different, make a clear distinction. But the main actor, the person who played Yoon-jun, said that he wanted his characters to be almost like inseparable.
But the thing about his character is that you would think he'd be in love with the person from the past, and maybe that's where it leads to. But it seems right now that he's setting up his friend the entire time for that. The last part of the mystery is that in the future story, or in the present storyline, she gets a text message, an Instagram message, that's uploaded to her that shows Kwon Min-ju, Nam Si-hyun, and also Jung In-gyu. Jung In-gyu being the guy that he's trying to hook up with Kwon. But that picture from them in the 90s. And so she backtraces that with her friends at work through like Google image search, and they find this thing that links to a 2008 school website or something. And so she's trying to figure that out. She recognizes her boyfriend, but she's like, when is this from? And that's not me. I don't do my hair like that. And so just a lot of questions. And I think the person who sent it to her was probably Young-jun. but like that person who has the cane.
Well, I mean, it probably would have had to be. You just mentioned the friend again, Jeon Yeo, and I want to say that he started working out for the role, but then realized that high schoolers, it's not a common habit for them to do that. So then he immediately stopped.
Yeah, he was super fat. He was just out of. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, they all look.
It seems so. You keep saying that the mystery kind of pulls you in, but there's too much like kind of a love story. Are you going to continue watching the series? Okay.
My pros and cons are this. I found it very entertaining how Moving had some of the same scenes as this did. Mm-hmm. Tell me if you remember, the girl can't catch her bus, her school bus. Yes. Literally the same scene. The school administrator counts down as he closes the gate. Like
that's like the first 10 minutes of Moving.
Yes, but that must be a very common thing in Korea is that you have an administrator out there. That is not a thing in American schools where they just have a
10,
gate
9,
for people.
8, yeah.
I don't even think they have people who drive to school there. Like that's everybody just has to
everyone
run in.
is always like walking.
The main character is missing that said gate and then getting punished for it. Mm-hmm. So instead of what was the punishment in Moving, that he had to clean the bathroom and I think she had to clean it with him. In this, it was that they had to do like PE physical like running laps, but like a crab walk style.
That's worse. At least that's way worse.
And then she had to like hold her arms above her head, and it was more of a physical thing. And then they also got like lambasted or like talked down to by that teacher. There was also a mention of formal versus informal speaking. Remember in Moving, I pointed this out where because of a different language, like there's different ways of speaking. And I think the girl in that show was talking to this fellow student, the guy who liked her, in an informal fashion. He's like, I don't even know you. Why are you talking to me like this? Mm-hmm. The opposite happens here where they go into the music shop and they speak, I think, formally. And then he's like, why are you speaking formally? We're in your class.
So that is just like you're saying, it's a common theme.
Yeah, we're classmates, duh. And then the last one was the eye contact, the nervous, like not looking away. I just feel like that's more present in these type of shows. The other thing that I give it a pro for, along with the mystery, is just the surprising amount of Apple merchandise that they had in there.
There's a lot.
Normally, for a Netflix show, they do everything they can not to advertise for competing platforms. But this didn't even feel that much like a Netflix show, probably because of this. They had giant Apple windows. She was on an Apple phone. They also had Starbucks there, because I know they have a lot of Starbucks in North Korea, or not North Korea, sorry, South Korea. But then my cons are a lot of the pilot drifted into the Hallmark territory that I was talking about. When will they kiss, and when will this memory scene end? Like, it just repetitive. There was one exception, of course, when she was texting her dead or possibly dead Yoon-jun from the countertop that she had meals with him at. And she was kind of doing the scene that Jesse had in Breaking Bad when he was trying to talk to, when he kept calling the voicemail of the girl that he liked, played by Kristen Ritter, right?
Yeah.
And this was kind of like that, where she was just keeping him updated in the text messages.
I think a lot of your cons are just it's a lot.
That was my exception to the cons.
It's from Someday or One Day, but what you're talking about with all the backflashes and when will this memory scene end, as you put it, it's that they were taking it from again the original series. So I'm saying that people that probably like the original series might like this remake more than you did, just kind of being thrown into it.
It just feels like the Jeong Yoon-ju character, I was not able to get anything from. The guy who is who liked Kwon Ming-ju from the past, but like if that's a thing, if they're making like a love triangle, why is the main character, or why is the boyfriend setting them up in the past? I just don't understand it. If he likes her in the future. And my theory again is that the old man is him from the future, but there's nothing that's clear right now. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10, an average score. I would give it higher just based on the mystery if it wasn't for it being weighed down by just constant romance.
I imagine you're probably not going to watch the rest of it.
I mean, it is interesting, right? Like maybe tune into the last episode, see if you can figure out where it's gone from there. Maybe speed through and away, or maybe read the Wikipedia notes on how it goes. But no, I'm not going to watch any more episodes.
It's been a very polarized response from people that like the original series and also people just tuning in. It seems like it's almost completely 50-50. Rotten Tomatoes has 1 one fresh and one rotten score, and a 94% audience score, but I think the audience is only like 50 people that have reviewed it. That's a 7.9 on IMDb with 1.3 thousand views. And like,
was there anything that I said in the description of like what was going down that wasn't presented, or anything that was presented in the other show that hasn't been presented here?
You said that the guy with the cane and the scar she sees right before she goes into the elevator.
She doesn't go into she's chasing him into the elevator, and by the time she gets downstairs, she's trying to find out who gave her the flowers.
I know in the first episode, like I was saying, she was in the elevator and she saw her boyfriend kind of walk past the elevator.
And the reason why she knew that the flowers were like such a big deal is that her boyfriend had literally put a flower on the box that he gave her, and he had also brought her flowers to work beforehand in like a different memory. So it was clear that he knows about those being significant, and that's why she probably thought that they were from him.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah. So there's a lot of reasons why we are led to believe that he's not dead, and it wouldn't make sense for this type of show. That's why you said a time traveler's wife, right?
Yes.
This guy's a time traveler. But how does she become a time traveler? And is that really her? And if she's 25, 26, 27 here?
She was 27 in the pilot.
Yeah, then how, and they're playing back in high school, like she didn't get transported to 1998 and then my first thought was, I'm going to schedule myself as a junior at this random high school. Like, that would just be a strange thing to do, right? All right. Well, anything else you want to say?
Yeah, just very fast. It was confusing on set because the cast didn't know what scene they were shooting since the story isn't in chronological order. So the director, Kim Jin-won, decided to film each character's encounters in the right way in terms of the timeline.
And then just change it in editing.
Yes.
All right. Well, thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next episode. Hope you enjoyed this one. Bye.
Bye.
Is the next one going to be the Continental?
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Bye.
Bye.